Hi there, so nice to see you again. Today we're going to be making the most scrumptious chocolate cake. And it's an extra special chocolate cake that has a tunnel of cream cheese and chocolate chips in the middle. It's just to die for. Please don't be intimidated by the number of ingredients I have measured out here. It really is an easy cake to put together. Once you have everything all measured out, it's into the mixing bowl, into the bundt pan, and into the oven, and then you're going to end up with just a showstopper of a cake. So let's get started. The first steps to making our cake are to get our pan ready. I have a bundt pan that I've just greased very generously with butter. Make sure you have butter or baking spray in all the little nooks and crannies. You can use a regular tube cake pan, but I think a bundt pan is prettier for this because there's a nice chocolate glaze at the end. So have that all greased and set aside. Have your oven preheated to 350. And now we're going to mix up our filling first. So I have 1 block of cream cheese, that's about 250 grams. And I have 1/4 cup of sugar. So I'll just cream together that cream cheese and sugar. Once that's nicely incorporated, you can add a teaspoon of vanilla and an egg. Just beat that up until it's nice and fluffy. Scrape down your bowl halfway through the mixing process and then mix it up again. So that looks pretty good. And the last ingredient for this filling is 1 cup of chocolate chips. And that's it for the filling. So because I'm going to use the same bowl to mix up the cake batter, I'm just going to transfer this filling into a small bowl and set it aside. Scrape out as much of that cream cheese filling as you can, but it doesn't matter if there are a few little streaks left behind. And that's our filling. Let's just set this aside, and then I'll bring back all my cake ingredients and we'll mix that together. And again, don't be intimidated by all the ingredients that I have out here. They're just ordinary pantry staples, and I think it's much easier to bake when you have everything measured out ahead of time, or mise en place, as the chefs would call it. First, we have some brown sugar and some white sugar, and some neutral vegetable oil. And again, don't worry about trying to remember these measurements. Everything is in the description, so we'll give the oil and the sugars a good mix. And now I'm going to mix in my eggs. So there are 2 eggs in this. There's my first egg. Here's my second egg. And I always think it's a good idea to scrape down your bowl and then give it another good mix. And I also have 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay, so I have my dry ingredients here. And that's just regular all-purpose flour. And I have 2 teaspoons of baking soda and 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you'll notice, and I know some of you have commented, where's the salt in your recipes? Well, if I'm using salted butter, I tend not to add any additional salt. We're getting older, trying to watch our salt intake. But since this recipe uses just oil, and oil doesn't have any salt whatsoever, and none of the other ingredients really have salt, I will add the required amount in this recipe. So I'm just whisking the baking powder, baking soda, and salt into my flour. And I also have some cocoa. That's 3/4 cup of cocoa. And I sifted the cocoa just in case there were any lumps. So I'll just whisk that in. It doesn't have to be completely whisked throughout the flour, just to help it along a little bit. And now I'm going to dump all of those dry ingredients into the bowl. And then I'll just give that a very slow mix, just to get it started. And then finally, I have 1 cup of strong coffee. I just saved a cup of coffee from our morning brew. So that's 1 cup of coffee. And that addition of coffee will make the cake taste really good. Coffee and chocolate taste fantastic. And I have a cup of buttermilk. And if you don't have buttermilk, you can just take 1 cup of regular milk and put a little lemon juice or vinegar in, maybe a teaspoon, and set it aside, and it will start to curdle and get thick, just like buttermilk. You really don't need a stand mixer to make this cake. You can just mix it all together by hand. I'm just going to carefully start mixing that on slow, trying not to slop it all over the place. Start with a pulse or 2 at first, and then you can increase the speed. Give the bowl a good scrape midway through your mix, just to make sure any dry ingredients that are stuck to the side of the bowl are completely incorporated in your cake batter. And get your spatula down to the bottom of the bowl too, just to make sure there's nothing stuck at the bottom. You want everything to be well incorporated. And then give it another good beat. And that's it for mixing up the cake batter. As you can see, it's a very runny batter. So I'll just get my cake pan and we'll get this ready to bake. So I have our cake pan that's all been nicely greased with butter. So the first thing we're going to do is pour this batter, half of it, into the pan. Just eyeball it. That looks like half. And give that a little tap on your counter to release any air bubbles. And then we're going to drop dollops of this nice cream cheese filling all around the batter. And this is going to create our nice tunnel of cream cheese and chocolate chips. Make sure you get all of it. You don't want to leave any of that delicious filling behind. This is going to be such a nice surprise when you slice into the cake. It's like a cheesecake inside a chocolate cake. It's so good. And now for the rest of our batter. Just very slowly so that you don't force that cream cheese to sink too much. It should stay suspended in the cake batter. So just dribble that gently over the top. As you can tell, this is going to be a very large cake. And because it's a very rich cake, you can get a lot of servings out of it. The slices don't have to be very large, or they can be if you want a large slice. I won't tell anyone, but if you're taking this to a party, you can feed quite a few people with this. That's it. Now we bake it in a 350 Fahrenheit oven. I think that's 175 Celsius, and we'll bake it for 70 minutes. But I would start checking for doneness at 60 minutes. I've had this be completely finished baking in about 60 minutes. The recipe calls for 70, but depending on how hot your oven runs, you may find that it's done a little quicker than 70. So into the oven, clean up your kitchen, and I'll see you back here in a little bit. So I've just tested my cake and it is done. I think it was done in about 62 minutes. Look at that. How gorgeous is that chocolate cake? Lovely. Yeah, it rises up nice and high. It has a nice glossy finish, and I think it's going to be wonderful. We can't cut into it just yet. It's far too hot. We have to let this cool in the pan for about 30 minutes, and then we'll transfer it out to finish cooling completely onto a cooling rack. So we'll just let this hang out here for 30 minutes, and then I'll be back to take it out of the pan. So the cake has been cooling here for about 30 minutes. The pan is still quite hot to the touch, but I think we can try to release this cake from the pan now. So just very carefully tip it over onto a cooling rack. Might take a little more time. I think once the steam rises up and touches the underside of the pan, it will release it. But it's possible that this isn't going to come out without a fight. Let me give it a little shake. I think it's just not cool enough yet. So I'm gonna let that sit with the pan on top for another 10 minutes. And hopefully by that time, the steam will have collected on the underside of the pan here. And that will help the pan to release. So I'm gonna give this another 10 minutes and hopefully it will come out of the pan in one piece. Okay, let's try this again. Is it gonna come out this time? Still a little, but oh yes, that's what it needed. Oh, please be intact. Oh no. Oh no. Well, this is real life, folks. So a little bit of my cake has stuck to the pan, but we're gonna fix that. So we're going to perform a little bit of restoration work here to make this cake look beautiful. So I'm just going to ease those stuck parts out of the bunt pan. Bunt? How do you say bunt pan? I obviously did not have enough butter on a few portions of this pan. Okay, so there's one piece. I'm just going to carefully lift that over here and see if I can, oops, put that into position. Okay, and I think this little piece goes right here. And you know what? None of this is going to matter because we're going to cover this all with a nice chocolate glaze. So perform your surgery. There's a little jigsaw puzzle piece there and a little jigsaw puzzle piece over here. Another spot that has to be repaired. Yeah. It's stuck. Okay. That goes like that. I think that one goes in there like that, and this one goes in here like that. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, or how the cake crumbles. But I'm not going to cry over this too much. I'm going to show you, once this completely cools, how a beautiful chocolate glaze over the top of everything is going to hide all of that. So let's let this cool completely for about an hour. Then we'll mix up a nice chocolate glaze and we'll decorate it, and then we'll cut in and see how it tastes. No matter what happens, I know this is going to taste delicious. How about that? Well, I'm back feeling sad about this cake, and I know you would feel sad too if that happened to you. It's happened to me many times. I'm sure it's happened to Ina. I'm sure it's happened to Martha. I'm sure it's happened to the very best bakers in the world. But not all is lost. I'm going to show you how to disguise all this, and hopefully we'll have still a beautiful, delicious cake that anyone would be proud to serve. So I have 3 ounces or about 85 grams of chocolate. This is just the remainder of the chocolate chips that were in the package that went in the cream cheese filling. And I have a cup of powdered icing sugar, and I have 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So I'm gonna put the butter in with the chocolate chips, give that a little stir, and then I'm gonna just put this in the microwave for increments of 30 seconds at a time, just until the chocolate starts to melt. So I'll be right back. My microwave is over there. So that took about 10 seconds, and everyone's microwave is different. I would not walk away from chocolate in the microwave while you're trying to melt it. Just keep watching and opening the door, and the chocolate will melt. If you let it go too long, it will scorch. There I have nice melted chocolate. So now I'm going to add my powdered sugar. I'm just going to stir that in. And now I'm going to add just a splash of cream. This is just light cream. Stir that in. And I think I'm going to give this another shot in the microwave, just to loosen up that melted chocolate a little bit more now that it's had a splash of cream added. There, I gave that 10 seconds in the microwave. I gave it a stir, and then I added another final little splash of cream. And I think it's just important to keep looking at it and stirring it, and when it becomes a nice consistency that you like, that's what to work toward. So this is my glaze for the chocolate cake. And my chocolate chips were milk chocolate. If you wanted to use dark chocolate, you certainly could. I have my cake platter. I'm just carefully going to lift this from the cooling rack onto the platter and see if we can save this cake. Save the cake. So just keep spooning the glaze over, paying special attention to the areas that you want to hide. There. How did we do? Can you see the previous disaster? Not too well. I think if you looked closely, you could see a few little lumps and bumps, but I think overall it looks pretty good. And if you were highly concerned, a little dusting of powdered sugar hides a multitude of sins. But I'm loving the way that milk chocolate glaze looks in contrast with the dark chocolate cake. I think that's beautiful. Well, what do you say? Should we cut into this and see what it looks like? I think so. I have 2 different knives here, a serrated one and just a sharp chef's knife. I think for this kind of cake, a serrated knife might be best, but I have backup in case this isn't the best. So give it a nice cut, and give it a wipe with a damp cloth. First cut is always the most nerve-wracking, isn't it? Well, there you go. I don't know if that's much of a tunnel, but there is a distinctive layer of cream cheese in the middle of that nice chocolate cake. I'll turn this around a little bit so you can see. The cake itself looks gorgeous. It's very chocolatey and fudgy, I can tell just from looking at it. And the nice cream cheese and chocolate chip filling also looks lovely. But let's see how it tastes. That's the most important thing, isn't it? So let's go right for the gusto and take a little taste of the top with that tunnel of cream cheese and chocolate, and get a little bit of that chocolate glaze too. Yeah, that's a great chocolate cake. I need a glass of milk with this one. That's better. Some things just need a glass of cold milk, don't you think? And The fudgy chocolate cake is one of them. Have another bite. So delicious, so soft, so moist, extremely chocolatey, and that little tunnel of cheesecake filling really is a nice touch. I don't know. You might be able to tell that we had a little bit of a mishap. The taste of this cake more than redeems itself. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll give this recipe a try, and if you do, please let me know in the comments how it turned out for you. I hope your baking is less adventurous than mine. If you do suffer any little cake catastrophes, you know how to fix it. I hope I'll see you here again next week. Happy baking. Bye for now.